Hi there. This episode was actually inspired by my conversations course. So last week we talked about motivation at work, and very often I heard my students say things like, it's motivating for me, it's important for me to do something, it's difficult for me to do something. And of course, all of that is correct, obviously, but if you want to introduce a bit more variety, as always, especially in these work-related situations, then there is a much better structure you can use, a structure that I always recommend using in this business English environment, namely, I find it important, I find it interesting, I find it difficult, I find it motivating. So instead of saying it's important for me, you can say I find it very important. Instead of it's difficult for me, I find it very difficult. And instead of it's motivating or it's interesting for me, I find it very motivating. I find it very interesting to do something, for example. And what's interesting here is that this structure can be translated in many, many different ways. For example, to jest dla mnie trudne, uważam to za trudne, dosłownie odnajduję to jako trudne. So really the sky is the limit when it comes to translating this structure. And of course you can extend it with another verb. For example, I find it difficult to focus on my tasks, or I find it important to keep a work-life balance. And as you can see, this structure is extremely useful because it sounds very natural, very professional, and it's very common in business English, like I've already mentioned. So now let's practice, okay? This time based on paraphrasing, okay? So remember, I find it plus adjective, przymiotnik, to do something. So it is difficult for me to speak English. Now your turn. Try to translate it by means of I find it. Once again, it is difficult for me to speak English. Go ahead. So obviously I find it difficult. I find it hard to speak English. And by the way, you can also say I find doing something plus adjective, okay? So for example, I find speaking English difficult. So I find what? Speaking English difficult, okay? So both versions are correct. I find it difficult to speak English, or I find what an activity, I find speaking English difficult. I prefer the first version, to be honest, but of course you can choose. Okay, so let's carry on with the paraphrasing exercise. It's hard for me to work under pressure. Go ahead, try to paraphrase this sentence. It's hard for me to work under pressure. Okay, so obviously I find it difficult, I find it hard to work under pressure. Another one. It's easy for me to give presentations in English. Go ahead. I find it easy to give presentations in English. Of course, you could say, I find giving presentations easy, right? But I generally think the first option is the best. Okay, another one. Now pay attention to the correct tense. It was hard for me to understand him. It was hard for me to understand him. Past tense, okay? Go ahead, paraphrase. So the key, I found it, okay, not find, but found in the past. I found it difficult to understand him. Ciężko było mi go zrozumieć. It was hard for me to understand him. I found it hard, difficult to understand him. Okay, another one. It's not interesting for me. It's not interesting for me. Go ahead. I don't find it interesting at all. So as you can see here, we are actually negating this sentence because I'm saying it's not interesting for me. So generally, I don't find it interesting at all. Okay, so now a question. Is it stressful for you? Is it stressful for you? So what kind of question would you ask with this find structure? Is it stressful for you? Go ahead. So obviously present simple, a question in the present simple tense. Do you find it stressful? And by the way, you can actually learn it by heart, right? Do you find it interesting? Do you find it stressful? Do you find it important to do something, for example? Okay, so you can just learn, automate this question by heart and then just use it in various contexts. Okay, so now let's move on to this sentence translation. So this one might be a bit trickier, I would say, right? It's easier to paraphrase. We've already mentioned that this structure can be translated in many different ways. Okay, but let's try. Czy łatwo Ci prowadzić negocjacje? Of course, remember, we are using this find structure. Czy łatwo Ci prowadzić negocjacje? Go ahead. The translation. Do you find it easy to conduct negotiations? Do you find it easy to conduct negotiations? Okay, another one. Poznawanie nowych ludzi jest dla mnie interesujące. Poznawanie nowych ludzi jest dla mnie interesujące. Go ahead. And obviously you have two options here. I find it interesting to meet new people. I find it interesting to meet new people. Or I find meeting new people interesting. So I find this activity of meeting new people quite interesting. Okay, another sentence. Mam nadzieję, że okaże się to dla Ciebie przydatne. Go ahead. So the key, I hope you will find it useful. I hope you will find it useful. And by the way, very nice sentence to be used, for example, in an email. For example, I do hope or I hope you will find this information useful. I hope you will find it useful. Very nice sentence. Okay, next one. Ta sytuacja była dla mnie bardzo irytująca. Okay, I found that situation very frustrating because obviously in the past ta sytuacja była dla mnie bardzo irytująca, so I found that situation very frustrating. Okay, another one. Klient nie uznał naszego produktu za atrakcyjny. Go ahead. The client didn't find our product attractive. The client didn't find, nie uznał. The client didn't find our product attractive. Okay, so as you can see now the level is going up. Okay, the last bit one. Ciężko było nam dotrzymać deadline'u, ale udało się. Ciężko było nam dotrzymać deadline'u, ale udało się. Okay, so we found it difficult to meet the deadline or keep the deadline, but we managed to do so. We found it difficult to meet the deadline, but we managed, we made it, we could say. Okay, and the last one, question this time. Czy ciężko było Ci to naprawić? Czy ciężko było Ci to naprawić? Did you find it difficult to fix it? So as you can see, a question in the past simple tense. Czy ciężko Ci było? So did you find it difficult to fix it? So as you can see, this is not a complicated structure, right? But it's exactly the kind of small detail that makes a huge difference in how natural and professional you sound. And from my experience, you just need to repeat it many times because in speaking, usually we tend to choose these basic structures and basic options, right? So when you're speaking and you have no time to think, I suppose you will say, it's hard for me, it's motivating for me, rather than I find it motivating, I find it hard, I find it important. So just keep practicing, try to use it a few times, and possibly in this way you will memorize this structure much better. So once again, next time, instead of saying it's difficult for me, try to say I find it difficult or I find it difficult to do something. So now here's your task. Think about one thing that is difficult for you when it comes to English, okay? And try to say it using today's structure. So I find it difficult to do something. And if you want, just send me your sentence in the comments, leave it in the comments. I'm going to take a look at it, whether the structure is correct. And well, of course, don't forget to follow the podcast for more practical business English. Cheers.